Picasso, born on October 25, 1881, was a Spanish painter, sculptor, printmaker, ceramicist, and stage designer. Picasso is considered one of the greatest and most influential artists of the 20th century.
The early 1900s was Picasso's blue period, when he created somber, monochromatic paintings made only in blue and blue-green colors. During this period, he also created prints in a grayscale.
Most likely influenced by the suicide of his friend Carlos Casagamas and his journey through Spain, Pablo created depressing paintings with prostitutes, drunks, and beggars as the frequent subjects. The name of this painting is called The Frugal Repast, and it was created in 1904. And the couple in the image is blind, as Pablo represented many of the people when he painted during the blue period.
It's very gloomy because there's really no color in it. The people look kind of sad. They're not looking at each other.
They're drinking.
They drink a lot.
I don't know. It's like a depressing kind of love. And their bodies look funny. They look skinny.
They look like tired and exhausted.
Yeah.
Alright, this piece of art is called The Tragedy. It was created in 1903. It's made of oil and wood, and you can see how it's monochromatic with the use of the blues and the other dull colors, like the dark shades, you know.
And I'm assuming they look like a family.
Yeah.
It's a man and woman and a young child who has his hand on his leg.
It looks like they just lost somebody.
Yeah, they look very sad, kind of like Picasso was at the time.
Yeah, so with his sad feelings, he represented it through these people. Sad people. Following this blue period, Picasso transitioned into the rose period, which was characterized by a more cheery style, with orange and pink colors. These images were influenced by the time he spent as an adult in France. Picasso was also influenced by his new relationship with Fernande Olivier, a model for sculptors and artists whom he met in France.
One of the most famous pictures during this period was called Garçon à la Pipe? Pipe? Garçon à la Pipe. You can see that it's a very big transition from the blue period, as everything's not blue.
Except for his jumpsuit.
Yeah, besides that. But there's flowers in the background, which make it much more cheery, and he uses much warmer colors. This painting is called The Family of Saltimbanquis, and these people are like circus people. As you can see, like they're wearing funny costumes, and the girl's dressed in a dancer's outfit.
They look like they're not really looking at each other.
No.
They're all just really, you can tell.
They seem very isolated.
Yeah, they don't really want anything to do with each other anymore. That's what it seems like.
And
you can't see the girl's face.
Some people suggest this was Picasso's representation of himself and his circle of people, showing them as poor and isolated.
Sad.
Yeah.
During the 20th century, African art was being brought to Europe, which infatuated and inspired many artists. One of these artists was in fact Picasso. He created a multitude of paintings and sculptures based off of the style of African art. This was known as his African period.
Les Demoiselles d'Avignon was painted in 1907, and it was made of oil paint painted on canvas. And the name means Ladies of Avignon, but it was originally titled The Brothels of Avignon.
This portrayed the woman as masculine, and that really offended some people.
Picasso used influence from African art and design to make this picture. As you can see, the women are very geometric looking, and they have African faces, and people didn't understand this and took it the wrong way and thought that these women were obviously prostitutes. I mean, it was called the Brothels of Avignon, and took it the wrong way and thought he was portraying women as, like, these prostitutes as ugly and making a comment about prostitutes in general, which really offended people, but he was really just inspired by African culture.
Following the African period, in 1909, Picasso, along with George Braque, developed a new style of art called Cubism. Both these artists took objects and analyzed them to their simplest geometric shapes, which made them turn out very square and box-like, and personally it's not my favorite. This picture right here is called Three Musicians, made in 1921, and yeah, no, can't say I'm a fan.
You can definitely see the African influence on his creating of Cubism. In the picture of Les Demoiselles d'Avignon, the women were very geometric, just like in African art, and I think that Picasso was sort of inspired that to create this new style of art called Cubism, where everything's very geometric, and you can see these people have square faces, and it's very abstract and much more modern than anything he had really done up until that point. And then we see the same style in The Accordionist, which was painted in 1911.
I like this.
This one is much more abstract than the Three Musicians. It's very hard to tell what the subject of the painting is. I mean, you don't really get an accordionist out of it. You can sort of make out a face in the upper right corner.
It's very blended, but, I mean, all the lines and the edges, I can see how it would be called an accordionist.
Following World War I, Picasso began to work in a neoclassical style. Arguably, Picasso's most famous painting emerged from this era, and it was called Guernica. This mural was created after the bombing of Guernica in Spain by German and Italian warplanes. These warplanes were aiding the Spanish government during Spain's Civil War. Picasso was asked to paint this mural, which is nearly 4 meters tall and 8 meters wide, to bring Spanish Civil War to the world's attention. Guernica shows the suffering it brings upon people and became an anti-war symbol, and Picasso himself was very against war.
He was a communist, though.
So in the picture, in the left-hand corner, you can see a bull, and it looks like its tail is almost made of flames, and the bull is commonly used to symbolize Spain, as well as the horse, which you can see in the center of the picture. And the horse is wounded, and the bull is standing over a woman who's holding her deceased child. I mean, putting the two in the picture, the horse and the bull, really symbolizes Spain's Civil War.
It was just pure chaos, and you can tell by the man laying on the ground. He's just there, and no one notices him because they're so busy fighting and kind of freaking out that they didn't even notice.
Yeah.
And it shows how awful it really was.
Mm-hmm. The chaos definitely demonstrates, I'm sure, how chaotic the war was. And then in the left-hand corner, you can almost make out the outline of a bird, which could possibly be a dove, which would symbolize hope, as well as the lamp that the woman coming through the window is holding. So there is some hope in the picture, but it's just surrounded by so much tragedy that you don't even realize it. And it's definitely a very powerful image. And the color scale that he used, the grayscale, much like to what he used in some of his prints during the Blue period, definitely makes it much more
dull,
depressing.
gloomy.